Having visited Fiesta Texas many times while growing up in Houston and while living in San Antonio in 2021, I've ridden all of these coasters many times, though I prefer not to ride Boomerang. 2 coasters in this park have even had the honor of being my #1 overall coaster, and that's excluding Streamliner, which likely was my first kiddie coaster. Some coasters I like more than your average coaster enthusiast because I've been able to experience solid runs with their drops, and others I prefer less due to how they whip me around or otherwise beat me up. Find out which coasters are my favorite at Six Flags Fiesta Texas in this countdown. Of note, I have not been on Kid Flash Comic Coaster as it wasn't open on my last visit in July 2023. It is a much needed family coaster for this park though, and has a shot of being ranked as high as number 9 on this list. Number 11, Boomerang. This is one of my least favorite coasters on the planet. The overall concept isn't bad. The initial drop off the chain lift offers a solid drop feeling, and then you're blasted through a bunch of inversions, with a weird catching lift on the second hill. But the intensity of this coaster, especially going backwards, and especially the backwards loop, just beats me up too much to be enjoyable. Riding this coaster requires me to sit down afterwards for at least 30 minutes before I can get my bearings back, and it just isn't worth doing that during a day at Fiesta Texas, unless there's no line in a show you want to see right next door at the Fiesta Tetra. As one of the more family-friendly coasters in this park, I get its place in the overall ride lineup. And fortunately, this coaster has been retracked with new vest restraints, so it should be better than this ranking in its new condition. I just couldn't bring myself to ride it on my latest visit. Number 10, Goliath. Unlike most, I'm not a fan of B&M inverts, especially Batman the Ride clones. The drop is only okay, the 2 forceful loops are really nice, but after that it just beats me up and just isn't overall enjoyable to me. I may hate on these more than I should, but there are plain and simply 9 other roller coasters that I'd rather ride in this park than Goliath. Number 9, Streamliner Coaster. This unique and simple kiddie coaster from Vekoma gets a lot of love from me, particularly because of the nice laterals that I've experienced on its drop. Since adults can ride it without a kid, I've ridden this coaster many times and been able to get a few absolutely wonderful runs on its drop that has elevated it to one of my overall favorite kiddie coasters. It is a very basic layout, but the freeing restraints help make this ride. Plus, there's enough history from riding this ride as a kid that makes my heart truly appreciate this train-themed coaster. Number 8, Roadrunner Express. The theming of this coaster needs a bit of an update, but the setting against the quarry wall makes it really feel like a mine train coaster. The positive G's on its valleys are actually a bit stronger than I might like, but offer a nice contrast with the many turning drops. Then, I do always love a good second lift hill on a coaster, and Roadrunner Express delivers in beautiful fashion in this department. It isn't the best coaster, but I've seen kids and adults come off this coaster enjoying themselves, and it's a solid family coaster. Number 7, Batman the Ride. This coaster gets a lot of love from kids, as I've met many people who have this as their favorite coaster in the park, since they seem to really appreciate the power and gimmick of this coaster, while it isn't too big or scary. For me, the flipping is nice, and the gimmick is well executed, but it just doesn't seem to offer more than random flipping, which just isn't something I want to do all the time. I can appreciate this coaster's gimmick, but it just isn't something I need to ride. Number 6, Poltergeist. When I first rode this coaster, I was blown away by its power, and at the time, it was my favorite overall coaster. Thus, it holds a very special place in my heart as a truly solid mid-tier coaster. The launch is a nice mix of not having to worry since there's no lift hill, and a little bit of wondering and fearing what the actual launch is going to be like. But after the launch, there's 3 large inversions that offer very little drop feelings, which, as a young kid scared of drops, was a beautiful sight to see. Then, Poltergeist wraps through a spaghetti bowl of twists and turns. None of which are too great, but which is okay. With higher speeds since the 2021 retheme, I did notice some minor airtime pops over the various hills on my most recent rides, which was actually a pleasant surprise. Finally, a super smooth corkscrew ends your run. I feel with the speed you pick up on this coaster that this should be whippy and not to my tastes, but it is a fine, smooth corkscrew ending a decent, though not great ride on Poltergeist. Number 5. Dr. Diabolical's Cliffhanger. The new, well-themed thrill coaster this park had been hoping for falls a bit short in my opinion. The pre-shows are nice, but I can't get over the barren areas that populate everything underneath the coaster. The vest restraints also really seem to limit the airtime for me on this coaster, so most of the drops aren't nearly as special as they could be. With the outside seats not being as good as they could be, and the ride tracking really bumpy for me on my rides, it just wasn't an overall great experience, and a step down from other drop coasters like SheiKra. This is still an enjoyable ride, but it just isn't as enjoyable as it should be. Number 4. Pandemonium. I rank this coaster higher than most will at this park, but having ridden it many times, I've gotten great off-balance rides that spin a lot, as well as having experienced the magic of going over its bunny hill backwards and sideways. It is a solid spinning coaster, and one of the few coasters for families in this park. But I really find it to be a truly enjoyable ride, as it has elements that can deliver with spinning and airtime. I do feel there's a lot more that could be done with this model and layout, but I'll be happy with what I have from the only roller coaster in my favorite section of Six Flags Fiesta Texas. Number 3. Superman Krypton Coaster. My first few rides on this coaster left me unimpressed. The inversions are snappy, the drop isn't too great with its curve, and the rest of the coaster doesn't do much with a large void of scenery with its lake in the middle. Other B&M floorless coasters, or sit-down coasters, don't seem to get this hate from me, but there just wasn't much special in its overall layout. But then, I rode this coaster in the front row, particularly on the right side of the train. The right side will have you leaning and looking down both the initial drop as well as during the helix on top of the quarry wall, both experiences that elevate this ride. The rush of wind in your face for this entire ride is also absolutely fantastic. I've ridden it in the second row, and it just isn't the same at all. If you want to experience this ride in an enjoyable way, I'm waiting to ride in that front row. The record-setting vertical loop is also pretty great, really in any seat you sit in, with the middle probably maximizing the great hang time, one of the few benefits of not sitting in the front. On my most recent rides, I did get actual solid feelings off of the few drops while sitting in the front row, as well, so this coaster may even be better than I give it credit for. However, it did track really bumpy, which is odd as I base my belief in B&M smoothness off of this coaster. And this bumpiness did prevent it from climbing higher in my overall rankings based off of my re-rides. It clearly is a solid B&M coaster. I just wish it was more consistent row to row for me, but I'll enjoy what I can get from its front row rides. Number 2. Wonder Woman Golden Lasso Coaster. This coaster is powerful as it works to throw you out of its seats. I wish the first drop was slightly better for me, as it is decent but not super scary or super enjoyable, just good and solid. The rest of the ride offers a barrage of solid elements, but the overall ride is over quickly, which doesn't give me enough time to truly enjoy this coaster. I've gone in multiple rides where I've been able to stay on the coaster and ride again in my favorite row, the front, because I got to this coaster first thing on a slow day. And the ability to ride this coaster back to back certainly helps with the feeling that its track is just too short. Number 1. The Rattler. Iron Rattler. With the Rattler being my favorite all-time coaster, or my search for the best coaster is me looking for something that clearly beats the original Rattler in my mind, I hold Iron Rattler to the standard of being the best coaster in the world. And in that, quite frankly, it falls short. Iron Rattler has amazing elements. From a super fun pre-lift turn, one of my favorite lift hills in the world between its views and the quarry wall next to you, wonderful slow sideways airtime on top of the quarry wall, an absolutely fantastic bunny hill, and a decent second major drop off of the wall. I'm just not a fan of the larger RMC elements after its first drop, though they are all decent and enjoyable. The first drop is solid, but just not fantastic for me, probably closer to a 6.5 out of 10 as far as drops go, though I likely have very high standards when it comes to quality drop. For comparison, my favorite at the moment is New Texas Giant's first drop, which is probably an 8 out of 10. Many will claim Iron Rattler's drop is one of the best with its twist, but I just can't seem to feel that for some reason. It looks great. My largest complaint though is its length. The Rattler did 3 laps of turning around on top of the quarry wall, followed by an additional wraparound loop after the tunnel. Iron Rattler mixes in slow speeds with quality pacing, but its lack of overall ride length just holds it back for me from being the truly best coaster in the world. It is great for what it is, but man oh man do I want more. Which roller coaster at Six Flags Fiesta Texas are your favorite? Are there any here that you really don't like? If you could add one coaster to this park's lineup, what would it be? Let me know, and as always, Kapkun Krap.